Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday Recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games, and as always we'll start with EVE Online, and we'll actually start the week in EVE Online with a little bit of mining, which is what I did, taking the Orca back out for a couple of trips in Yona itself, making sure that there are no real dangers. Now you may ask, well, an Orca, it's a pretty big ship, are there any real dangers for that in high sec? Well, there are actually. I always make sure that there are no forward operating bases active in the system, because their patrols can warp scram you, they can then call in reinforcements, and they can actually get an Orca in trouble. And then of course there's the potential ganks as well. For an Orca they do need to organize quite a little bit, and I do tend to move from belt to belt, so I never really mine twice in the same place, but it is always possible. You're never completely safe in EVE Online, but once those were alright, my local was low enough and there were no forward operating bases, I decided to do a little bit of mining in the Orca, and the main reason for that was actually titanium was going up in price as well, substantially to above 4 ISK, so that seemed like a good opportunity to mine for some titanium and some Exile. I got some resources in and I felt pretty good about that. Exile is still pretty high, but unfortunately titanium is already losing some ground there when it comes to the price. I guess that a lot of players saw this as an opportunity and supplies are quickly closing that gap. So for the second part of the week I went back to focus on what I usually do, which is to get this killing spree done, to do my BPCs, to keep up with my PI, and all of that is going pretty damn well. Especially if you follow EVE Talk, you know that PI is going even higher for a lot of those goods. I'm not really sure what's happening there. Are supplies starting to decline, or is there just really more demand for capital construction ships out there? It's got to be one of the two, probably a combination of the two, but for me personally it's then a really good time, because I'm getting a lot of ISK for my PI and I'm still getting a lot of ISK for my BPCs as well. Did another run for the freighters, sold out in a couple of days, 30 million per BPC, very easy to do. For the dreadnoughts it's still the same problem. We've got the Nagelfar and then another one, I'm not sure which one it is. I don't think it's the Revelation, I think it's the Galente one, that are still not selling. So the ones I basically have 4 contracts up for those 2 ships at this point, but the others then went up in price, are going for over 20 million ISK as well for a single BPC. So I would say that that business is going quite well. I just need to instead of go mining, maybe take a trip back to a Mars base and take back perhaps a couple of carrier BPOs or something like that, to switch out those that are not selling. But I am very happy, and yeah, it's actually making me a decent chunk of ISK at this point, because 30 million for a freighter BPC that you get to make once a week is definitely pretty easy and pretty passive ISK. When it comes to the news front, well, the races are of course going on between the empires, so the Caldari and the Galente trying to finish their stargates, with Caldari really making a lot of progress. They're basically almost done and Galente lagging behind. And then we get the Amar Minmatar one that seems to be going at a slower pace for both of them, with Minmatar actually the slowest pace in total, but I think that that is basically a reflection of player numbers. And personally I also see this as a bit of an experiment by CCP to perhaps decide the direction of those types of interactions later down the line, and to be able to fine-tune that as well, so that they don't set completely unrealistic goals, that they give everyone a bit of a chance. And then also maybe, which was already announced in one of their live streams, that there will be like catch-up opportunities later down the line for some of the stuff as well, at least some of the important stuff that I think they want in the game for all of the players. And so it's pretty interesting. Stuff is definitely happening there. I'm still not super active in there myself, but I am keeping an eye on how things are developing and what all of that means for the lore, and for of course the potential development of EVE Online and everything that's coming with the expansion. And after that, for me of course, what could potentially be a cool concept, which is the allegiance system, when I'll finally be able to say I'm flying for the Galente, trying to help him out, and to see what we can do that way. So overall I'm looking forward to what's coming next in EVE Online, and I'm actually making a lot of ISK out of the lower activity that we're seeing as well. And just you know, I keep going, and all the ISK that you're making now, all the efforts that you're putting in the game now, actually puts you ahead of a lot of players at the moment as well. And so with the second half of the week focused on the skilling spree and then some more passive stuff, that gave me a little bit of extra time. And I actually went back to Path of Exile. Yeah, I said I was actually done with the league, but turns out that I'm still not done with the league. I just can't give up on getting build ideas popping up in my head, and then some of them I want to try out. And so on this one, I went with basically a glass cannon minion build, focusing on physical damage and then adding in lightning damage as well to be able to take advantage of 4 curses in a single button press. So it's again with an Oculist, but this time instead of having the igniting minions, I just go completely crazy with double claymores for extra carrion golems. So I'm fielding 4 of them, and then we've got just all melee physical type of minions running around. And then in my auras I go completely offensive, so we get an aura that increases the amount of physical damage taken to anyone close to me, and then the other aura, I think it's called Wrath, gives them extra fire damage on top of their physical damage. And so then my curses is of course physical damage taken, more damage after 50%, so on low life, and then we get elemental and conductivity as well. And so whenever we meet a boss, all I have to really do is pop up my curse. My spell is one that also summons physical lightning damage minions, and then everything just melts when it comes to the boss. That was very satisfying, definitely, especially when I'm standing next to the boss. They just take so much damage, probably the strongest that has been boss damage wise. But of course my defenses are 0, because even on my passive skill tree I just went for everything based on minion damage. That's all I want. I want him to do as much damage as quickly as possible. And so now that I'm actually in the level 60s and I'm starting to end with the before maps with the normal stuff, I'm from time to time just completely one shot by an AoE effect from even a blue can one shot me at this point. So I'm definitely you know, it's not a good build in the sense that I would die quite a lot, but I've never seen bosses melt quite that fast. And so it was a lot of fun, especially right getting things started. And then when you got a couple of important minion nodes, they really start to dish out a lot of damage, and you start to run through everything like it's nothing. Pretty damn satisfying. But of course, with the lack of defenses, it's a little bit of a problem. Maybe I can turn that into a type of a boss killer, and then find a different type of build that would be a little bit safer when it comes to clearing mobs, but even faster on that as well. But I personally also love the specters, right? There's a thread on Reddit that I go back to from time to time as well, where someone tested out 100 specters, explaining what they do, where they come from. So you get buffing specters, you get clearing specters, boss killing specters, debuffing specters. There's so many options. It's really cool. It's actually probably my favorite spell in Path of Exile at this point, and it's something that I really enjoy experimenting with as well. The buffing apes that give us charges, but you also have debuffing stuff. It's really cool, and so I was actually having a lot of fun playing some more Path of Exile. But yeah, we're running into that problem that I'm just getting one shot left and right at this point with the character that I've made. So I'm actually thinking about other builds again, but I haven't really found any of them that I want to try just yet. But yeah, last week I said I was done with the league, but it looks like I may actually still spend a little bit more time in Path of Exile at this point. And that was my last week in games, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.